Tony Taylor, a local councillor who worked at the steelworks for more than 40 years, is at Port Talbot for us tonight. Frank Field, the chairman of the Work and Pensions Select Committee, is also in our Westminster studio. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Tony Taylor, first of all, is this a moment to celebrate or is it really a moment to commiserate?
I think it's a moment where we've got to face reality and be pragmatic. There wasn't much of a choice on offer today or during this whole period. It was either take it or leave it, which I'm very disappointed with, because no one knew what the plan B was going to be. Were they going to go back to the selling process? And if they went back to the selling process, would the bidders still be interested? But there's been a decision taken. Now we've got to move on in the future. We've got to make sure that Tata stands up to the plate and delivers on their proposals.
So some disappointment there. You're a former steelworker yourself for many years, also a Tata pensioner, or at least a British Steel pensioner. Does it affect you?
Yes, it's going to have some sort of effect because we don't know what the provisions of the current scheme is going to be. We've had a number of proposals put forward by the chairman of the trustees via a communication. So we've got to sit there and wait and see what happens in the future for us as pensioners and what happens to the people that's working inside the plant, because they're just as important as well.
Frank Field, excuse the metaphor, but is this the canary in the coal mine? I mean, so many businesses around the UK, established businesses, having real trouble with their pension schemes. Are we going to see more of this in the future?
Probably. And I think the men are to be congratulated on their vote, because I say men because it would be very largely a male population working at the in the firms. Incredibly difficult decision for them to have to make. I hope I'd have had the courage to make the same decision, because they're voting for life, really, but with reduced pensions benefits. And I would make one plea now to the trade unions, who, from that film we saw, are clearly in some difficulty with some of the workforce. Pensions are a property right, just like your house. And people have, in effect, given over part of their property to make a success of the firm and the next stage of its life. And I would hope the trade unions will get written into any agreement two things. One is that if, in fact, better times come, as I think they will come, then these cuts can actually be reviewed, so we don't have a further transfer from working people to the owners of capital. But also that worry, and I think the Prime Minister has to take an interest in this, that given that on those work people who have made the decision today, that she now takes more than an interest, an active interest, in ensuring that Tata doesn't now decide to palm off what they own here to somebody else, maybe in Europe or well beyond that. We heard the men expressing worries on that score. They're dead right to be worried on that score, and it would be disgraceful if they were actually treated in the way that some people fear.
Well, on that, Tony Taylor, I mean, is there concern, trepidation locally at the moment, or is there a sense of closure for Port Talbot and indeed the steel community?
I don't think there's a sense of closure. There is a sense of anger, there's a sense of frustration that the deal has been now going to be done, that the people are saying that there's going to be £1 billion invested in the plant over 10 years. There's caveats to that the company must make a £200 million profit a year before they will levy that money in. There's a little word that says they will try to avoid compulsory redundancies. Try, in this context, is a huge word. So we must say to Tata, we need some more understanding of what's going on. We need better communication, and it's going to take a while for the rift inside the works to heal, and it's going to take a time for that understanding, that trust between employers and employees to be built back up for the future.
Frank Field, is there anything that can actually be done now? I mean, a lot of people very disappointed by this. A lot of people feeling this was a difficult, invidious decision, but they had to take it. But they're looking towards government and wondering whether there is anything that can be done.
Well, they could have made another decision. So I think we should actually say to them, well done, because they're the only group so far in the community that's been asked to surrender part of what I think is their capital savings. Nobody else has been put through the rigour of the work people here. And therefore
I do think people will be. You think it'll happen more and more?
It may well be, and therefore, if we're to safeguard what is of these difficult firms which have gigantic pension schemes, to keep the firms going until we get into times and different interest rates, so that the firms can begin to actually rebalance, or the interest rate markets as interests go up.
So you're thinking of other firms, that are also facing those problems?
Well, there's a huge list with these mega deficits. But as interest rates start to rise, as they will assuredly in the near future, the losses on the pension scheme become less and less with the interest rate rises. Doesn't mean to say that other people don't lose out, but it does actually make pension funding more manageable. And therefore, given the lead that Tata Workforce has given, I think there's a moral duty now on the Prime Minister, first of all, to take the particular interest in Tata and be talking to the owners of Tata, but also to push up her agenda what's going to happen to other firms weighed down by their pension funds.
OK, Tony Taylor, can I just ask you very quickly, sorry, Frank Field, Tony Taylor, what's your message very quickly to Tata Steel? Thinking potentially still about a sale, what would you say to them?
I say to them to move quickly now, to build up trust and, reveal some of your long-term plans, not short-term, because we don't want to be standing here in 18 months or 2 years' time discussing a potential closure or a potential sale. It's been a hard 12 months for them people inside that plant. They've had to make this hard decision at the end of it, and there was no plan B. It was a take it or leave it. And Tata's got to work hard now to rebuild that trust.